Please do not speak for all black people when your life experience is completely unrelatable to my own and other black people. So you can f off with this virtue signaling that you don't give a shit about black people. If you did, maybe you'd actually agree to debate me and have a black person come on your channel and talk about this. You don't give a what black people think. If you did, I think you'd at least have the common decency to at least talk to me about some of this stuff, or another black vegan activist. But you won't. All you're doing is using black people as a prop for your virtue signaling bullshit, where your only goal here is to slander that vegan teacher because for some reason you just personally don't like her. You're just using black people as a prop so that you can slander someone. You don't give a shit about black people. If anyone's being racist here is you, because you're using and exploiting black people for your own benefit.
The billions of animals that are so badly mistreated systemically, not just the occasional one, but crammed into places that are as horrible as the Nazi death camps. In fact, worse.
Stop. Stop. Stop.
So, this is just idiotic. So Alex Hershoft is a Holocaust survivor. He became an animal rights activist, and one of his famous quotes is, "As I became more familiar with animal farming and slaughter operations, I noted more striking similarities between what the Nazis did to us and what we are doing to animals." So if you don't like that vegan teacher commenting on similarities between the Jewish Holocaust and animal agriculture, okay, she wasn't there. But Alex Hershoft was. So if anyone is well equipped to point out similarities between animal agriculture and the Holocaust, I would assume it would be a Holocaust survivor. So what do you have to say to that? If you're going to claim that it's wrong to point out similarities between animal agriculture and the Holocaust, for one thing, I'd love you to tell this to an actual Holocaust survivor. Last I checked, you're not anywhere near old enough to have been in this situation. So I don't know why you think you are capable of commenting on it when you weren't there. And secondly, please explain to me why we can't make these comparisons. There are a lot of similarities. The systematic abuse, exploitation, murder, like insane loss of life, the way these animals are kept captive, the way they're killed. They're literally killed in gas chambers, especially with pigs. They're literally gassed until they're unconscious. So, yeah, there's a lot of similarities between animal agriculture and the Holocaust. I think it's totally fair to claim the two are similar or compare the two. It's totally fair to call animal agriculture a Holocaust. What's funny is the word Holocaust comes from a Greek word, holokausta, I think that's how you pronounce it, which roughly translates to burnt animal sacrifice. So, think it's totally appropriate, given the circumstances, to call animal agriculture a Holocaust. And as for the statement, animal agriculture is worse than the Holocaust, even if you're going to claim that animals can't suffer to the same degree that a human can, just based on pure numbers alone, you're talking about trillions of animals that are killed each year, if you include sea life, in the animal agriculture industry. Compare that to 5 million Jews that were killed in the Holocaust. Like, there's just such a massive difference in terms of total quantity of suffering and death. Look, if you're going to claim, oh, like what animals are going through, it's not nearly as bad. Okay, well, let me ask you this. Would you rather relive the suffering and death of every Jew that died in the Holocaust, or would you rather relive the suffering and death of the trillions of animals that suffer and die each year in animal agriculture? To me, the answer is pretty obvious. I think it would be much more preferable to relive the suffering and death of every Jew, because that's only 5 million, as opposed to, Like you're talking about hundreds of millions, or sorry, hundreds of trillions when you're talking about animal agriculture. So this is idiotic. Like she doesn't even come up with an argument. She's just like, stop, no, don't. Okay, well that's not an argument.
Stop. Even if that's something that you personally believe, you don't say shit like that out loud, okay? You don't know how other species think. You don't understand their level of cognitive abilities. You don't know how other animals feel. And if you're gonna pretend like you do, then you're projecting your own feelings and emotions onto other species.
Okay, so she's appealing to solipsism here. It's basically the idea that no mind exists other than your own. This is a more mild version of it where she's saying, oh, you don't know how they feel. If you're going to claim you don't know how they feel, why would the assumption be that they suffer less? If you're going to claim you're ignorant, why would the assumption be they're suffering less? Why wouldn't the assumption be they're suffering more or suffering in a similar way? Why are you automatically assuming that animals are suffering less? They have similar brain structures to us. They have similar reactions to noxious stimuli. They will writhe around and scream in pain just like we do. And there are even biologists like Richard Dawkins who would argue that it's possible that they actually have a greater capacity to feel pain than we do. It would make sense from an evolutionary standpoint because they don't have the intelligence that we do. So when we encounter some sort of harmful, noxious stimuli, we can actually use reason to determine, okay, this isn't safe, it's dangerous, we should stay away from it. Whereas animals don't have that mechanism, so they might have a stronger pain response to be a greater motivator to avoid harmful, noxious stimuli. So I don't know why the reasoning would be, oh, well, let's just assume they suffer less. For what reason? Why would we assume that? And even if we're going to assume that, just out of sheer numbers, just the sheer amount of animals that are tortured and killed, trillions, I think it's totally reasonable to say, yeah, animals are suffering worse than humans were in the Holocaust. Oh yeah, so if she's going to say, we don't know like what other minds are thinking, okay, well, why is that only restricted to animals? You don't know what Jews were thinking in the Holocaust. Like, I could argue, you don't know how they felt, so maybe they weren't suffering that bad. Maybe what they didn't go through was all that bad. Like, see how ridiculous this is? So if you're going to rely on this, like, oh, we don't know how other minds think. Okay, well, I could make the same argument for the Jews. Like, why is this sort of idea only restricted to animals? It's idiotic. So if you're going to use this argument, we don't know, we're ignorant, we don't know how they feel, okay, well, that would have to apply to all beings, including other human beings. And I don't know why the assumption would be they're suffering far less. Why would that be the first thing you go to? Why wouldn't it be, okay, well, they suffer similarly?
Hey, bitch! Welcome back to another video.
Okay, so she not only calls the audience a bitch several times in the video, but she actually refers to that vegan teacher as a bitch multiple times throughout the video. So what I would encourage people to do, she's pro-deplatforming. She's actually stated multiple times that she's happy that that vegan teacher got her account banned from TikTok, and she was happy that she violated community guidelines. She's violating community guidelines here, so every time you see her say bitch in the video, I'd encourage, go over to her video and report it for hateful and abusive content. So let's see, promotes hatred of violence, bullying. So we'll click bullying, and at 48 minutes, she calls the audience, she calls everyone watching the video a bitch. So just report it. Each time she accuses someone of being a bitch, just report it. She's pro-deplatforming, so let's give her a taste of her own medicine.
Video of me talking about people I hate. For those of you who don't know who I am and you're just clicking on this video because you also hate that vegan teacher, for a little bit of context about myself, I'm a vegan. I also am an...
You're not a vegan. So this person is claiming that animals are not going through a Holocaust. It is absolutely impossible to be a vegan and not recognize animals going through a Holocaust. So she's not a vegan.
Animal activist. She is one of the worst representatives of vegans and, you know, not even vegetarians, because she fucking hates those people.
I know that this is hard for you to hear, but no, it's not good enough just to be vegetarian. Not even close. Somebody who drinks milk, eats cheese, and eats yogurt is paying for murder. You need to stop lying to yourself and dump her.
Now, I do understand her perspective. Dairy is arguably the worst industry. If you look into it and you do your research, you should be encouraging more vegan choices. And vegetarianism is a natural step towards veganism.
Vegetarianism is not a natural step towards veganism. Veganism is about abolishing any practice that supports animal abuse. Vegetarians support animals. I don't understand how abusing animals is a natural step towards veganism. A natural step towards veganism is not torturing and killing animals. I went vegan cold turkey. I saw Gary Yourofsky's speech. After I saw that speech, I just went vegan, didn't eat any meat, dairy, eggs. I don't know why that's so hard for people to do.
If I wasn't vegetarian for 7 years, I probably wouldn't have gone vegan when I was 17.
Her message
Well, I think that says a lot about you, doesn't it? If I didn't torture animals for 7 years, I never would have gone vegan. Idiotic.
is so toxic, and it's just so terrible that it turns people away from the movement. It turns people away from veganism. This lady is...
Okay, whenever somebody says, oh, you're turning more people away from veganism than you're, turning people onto veganism, provide evidence. If you're going to make this claim, provide some sort of empirical proof. This is just clearly bias on your part just because you personally don't like her. The fact is, yeah, she does get a lot of hate online, but at the same time, she also gets a lot of, she has a huge actual fan base. She does, in fact, convert a lot of people to go vegan. So I don't know why there's this assumption because, certain videos she makes, she gets more dislikes than likes. That means she's turning more people off of veganism. I'm sure there's videos on your channel where they've gotten more dislikes than likes. That just happens. Yeah, veganism isn't a really popular position. It would be expected to get a more negative response, more people disagreeing with you than agreeing with you. It's entirely possible that the most effective vegan activists, who are the least controversial, actually turn more people off of veganism than onto veganism. And she hasn't really defined what that even means, by the way. What does she mean by turning people off of veganism? How do you calculate that? You can't. So, yeah, this is just idiotic on so many levels.
Literally what people who stereotype vegans who hate vegans think vegans are like. Vegans are not like this lady, and I want to make this very clear.
You wouldn't know because you're not vegan.
Vegans who I know absolutely hate that vegan teacher.
Well, they're probably not vegan. This girl isn't vegan, by the way. It's funny how she said that, and then she's playing a clip of this girl. This woman encouraged anorexics to eat meat. She says, because you have an eating disorder, that means you should torture and kill animals. Apparently, having mental disabilities or disorders, that makes it okay to torture and kill animals. This girl also refused to debate me. I tried to reach out to her on multiple platforms through email, on her YouTube, community page, in her comment section, on Twitter. She refuses to respond to me. I've challenged her to a debate multiple times. This person refuses to because she knows she's totally wrong, and I can just prove beyond any doubt she's not actually vegan. She's also claimed that we shouldn't try to encourage poor people to go vegan because veganism's too expensive for them, so you can't expect them to actually go vegan. It's just it's like imposing your white rich privilege on them, which is absolutely ridiculous. Some of the poorest people I know are vegan. She claimed that if you're on food stamps you can't be vegan, which is nonsense because food stamps mostly subsidize vegan foods. So this is just completely idiotic.
The way she goes about it she crosses some lines. She is what I like to call an extregan. It stops being compassionate and it starts being aggressive, and it is what pushes people away from veganism.
Some people go
They won't actually. So notice how they'll never define what they mean by pushing people away from veganism. Does that mean somebody disagrees with you? Well, okay, you could have the most reasonable message imaginable, like the least controversial, and people can still disagree with you very strongly. Like, look, the reaction that vegans get in public is absolutely insane. I was doing IRL activism with, I believe it was Direct Action Everywhere. All we were doing was handing out some flyers that just, informed people that they shouldn't buy fur. It was during winter, I think it was in October or November, and we're just handing out flyers telling people they shouldn't wear fur. And we only gave flyers to people who stopped by and asked, hey, what's going on? Like, people were holding up big signs talking about the fur industry. There was a guy who came up and literally assaulted one of the vegan activists, smacked the flyer she was holding out of her hands, and told her to, like, fuck off. Like, you can get that reaction from people, even if you're doing something completely reasonable, uncontroversial, not harassing anyone in any way, and just using your legal right to freedom of speech, and people can react to you like that. Would you claim that woman, would you claim that woman doing that sort of activism is turning people off of veganism? Like, you can't control how people react to you, so I'd rather rely on the strength of someone's arguments, like whether or not they're reasonable, whether or not they're correct, rather than relying on other people's reactions to you. So I don't know why she's relying on other people's reactions to that vegan teacher when people can react to you in absolutely insane ways when you're doing something completely reasonable. So this is a fundamental issue with her video. She's not actually trying to debunk any of that vegan teacher's arguments. She's just relying on other people's reactions to her. Oh, people don't like you, so that means you're doing something wrong. Well, okay, I'm sure there's plenty of people who don't like you. I guess that means you're doing something wrong? It just doesn't make any sense.
Go vegan for environmental reasons. Some people go vegan for humanitarian reasons. Some people go vegan for animal welfare reasons. Some people just go vegan because they want to feel better.
Veganism is an ethical philosophy. There's no such thing as going vegan for your own benefit, for humanitarian reasons, for health reasons. No, you go vegan for the animals. That's what veganism is. It's a philosophy that is intended to reduce harm and suffering and death. It's intended to help animals. So if you're just eating a plant-based diet for your own benefit, you're not vegan. You could call it plant-based, but that's not veganism. So I don't think this girl even knows what veganism is, which makes it even harder for me to believe that she's vegan if she doesn't even know what veganism is.
There's a whole myriad of reasons why people would make that decision, which are all completely acceptable and great. 99% of vegans and vegetarians out there are very nice people, and they don't push their beliefs off onto others. I believe
Okay, so this is a thing that she says all throughout this video.
that this is a personal choice that everybody has to make, and you have to make that decision on your own.
Okay, so she's claiming she's vegan, but she's saying we shouldn't force people to be vegan. So do you apply this sort of logical standard consistently? We shouldn't force people to adopt our ethical beliefs? So should we not lock up serial killers who murder other people? Because that would be forcing your beliefs on someone else, right? Like your belief that we shouldn't murder other people. If you're in favor of locking those people in jail, well, then you're forcing your beliefs on someone else. I don't see how you could say, no, we should lock up murderers, but we shouldn't lock up animal murderers. Name the trait that's lacking in animals that, if lacking in trait equalized human beings, would make it wrong to lock someone up for killing a trait equalized human being. That's what I meant to say. So no, she is totally in favor of forcing her beliefs on other people. She hasn't even defined what it means to force your beliefs on other people. Okay, so back to the video. Yeah, she won't actually define what she means by forcing your beliefs on others. That vegan teacher is not forcing anyone to be vegan, clearly. It's not like she's ever tied someone down, locked them in her basement, and like forced them to eat broccoli. So by force your beliefs on others, what she means is using your freedom of speech to argue for your ethical perspective. So if she's claiming that's forcing your beliefs on others, well, gee, let's take a look at her fucking video, shall we? Let's see, this one is titled The Literal Worst Horse Trainer on TikTok. Gee, so that sounds like you're forcing your beliefs on others that you should treat horses a certain way. Why I no longer support pit bull ownership. Gee, sounds like you're forcing your beliefs on others that they shouldn't own a fucking pit bull. Megan the Stallion demonstrates proper horse riding. Gee, sounds like you're forcing your beliefs on others on what you believe proper horse ride. I can just go down the list. So she does the exact same thing as that vegan teacher. She forces her beliefs on others, and by forcing your beliefs, what you really mean is using your right to freedom of speech to argue for your position. So if you think it's wrong to use your freedom of speech to argue for your ethical beliefs, then you're guilty of that too.
As an animal activist, I was so
notice how this is an oxymoron. She claims she's against using your freedom of speech to argue for your ethical position, yet she claims to be an animal rights activist. That's a complete oxymoron. You can't be an animal rights activist, yet not use your freedom of speech to argue for your ethical position. So you're lying about one thing. You're either lying about being an animal rights activist, or you're lying about having a problem with using your freedom of speech to argue for your ethical position. So you can't have both things be true. So I would say she's not an animal rights activist, clearly. She's against claiming animal agriculture is a Holocaust.
Annoyed and embarrassed that she would even try to associate herself with me. She doesn't care.
I'm annoyed and embarrassed that you'd try to associate yourself with me and the vegan movement. You're not vegan.
About the animals. She doesn't care about the environment. She doesn't care.
You don't care about the animals. You're literally against using free speech to argue for the vegan ethical position that it's wrong to kill and eat animals. You don't care about animals. You don't give a shit about them. If you did, you'd be encouraging people to speak out and point out that animal agriculture is a Holocaust. So no, you don't give a shit about animals.
Care about what she's claiming to care about. Because if she actually did, then she would be going about getting her message out there in better ways that would actually convince people to, make better choices and even convert to.
Okay, so one thing, she does not have mind-reading abilities. She's far too stupid for that. So claiming that she knows what that vegan teacher is thinking, she knows that she doesn't care about animals, that's absolutely ridiculous. If you ever bothered talking to her, which is very easy, she's on social media, if you really wanted to have a conversation with her and encourage her to change her activism, you probably would have actually tried to speak to her directly if you actually cared about these issues, which you clearly didn't. All you care about is making views and money on your fucking YouTube channel. Because if you actually cared about trying to convince her to use more effective means of activism, you'd ask to speak to her directly, maybe invite her on your channel and have a live discussion, debate on these issues, and actually try to convince her to your side. But no, you didn't do that. You just made a video attacking her and literally slandering her. In this video, she actually accuses that vegan teacher of committing illegal child sex abuse, which is just a complete slanderous fucking lie. So clearly you're not interested in that. Like the amount of hypocrisy in this video is just astounding. And secondly, that vegan teacher is doing the best she can. I don't know why she's claiming that, oh, she could convert people in more effective ways. Like, provide evidence. If you're going to make these claims that your method of activism is more effective than hers, provide evidence. Like, where's the evidence? You're just relying on your own personal bias. I don't like the way you say things, so that means what you do is worse. Where's the evidence? Where's the empirical data?
Veganism, but instead she's doing the exact opposite, and she's making all of us look crazy and horrible and like really, really bad, uneducated
Provide
people.
Evidence.
Anyway,
Provide
I could
evidence.
not be happier to find out that her channel is gone off TikTok for community guideline strikes because she's a fucking predator and she's.
Okay, so there we go. Let's report her again for calling her a predator, which is an absolute lie. So report Let's see. Hateful, abusive content, bullying. There we go. Next, she accuses someone of being a child predator, which is an absolute lie, and she provides no evidence for this claim. There we go. Report. I encourage all of you to do the same thing. She literally just said it. She's pro deplatforming. So every time she breaks community guidelines by calling somebody names or like accusing them of something that they didn't do, then report her. And then let's get her videos taken down. She's in favor of that, so let's get her videos taken down.
Said very, very sexual things to a literal 16-year-old boy on her.
16-year-olds are the legal age of consent. That vegan teacher lives in Canada, where the legal age of consent is 16. If she wants to solicit sex to a 16-year-old, she's well within her right to do so. Tommy Innit, which is who she's talking about right now, Tommy Innit lives in the UK, where the legal age of consent is 16. If she wanted to solicit sex from a 16-year-old, she is well within her right to do that. She actually also didn't solicit sex from a 16-year-old. She just made a joke that had sexual innuendo in it, but she made no direct reference to sex. So calling her a predator is an absolute fucking lie. This is the type of woman where if you ask them out on a date or for like to get a cup of coffee, she'll go on social media and accuse you of trying to rape her. That's the type of fucking reasoning that this woman is using.
TikTok, like this bitch is fucking.
Okay, there we go. So she broke community guidelines again. Let's report. So we'll go with hateful, abusive content, bullying. Next, let's go back one just to make sure. She calls another YouTuber a bitch. There we go. So there we go. Just report her for bullying, harassment. Like, this is so bad. She's literally claiming that vegan teacher is a sexual predator because she's claiming she tried to solicit sex from a 16-year-old, which is perfectly legal. And she didn't even do that in the first place. This is just insane.
I got 2 more golden play buttons today that I'm going to show to girls if they come round. Because they do.
Tommy, the nice vegan girls don't want to see your buttons. But if you want them to play with your buttons, you're going to have to show them your fruits and your vegetables.
Yeah, that is what she's claiming is sexually predatory. A fucking joke where she makes no direct reference to sex, where she just holds up a fucking cucumber in 2 pairs. To a 16-year-old boy who plays video games like fucking Grand Theft Auto, who I'm sure watches porn every fucking day, and she's claiming this is sexual abuse of a minor, when he's not even a minor.
Telling a 16-year-old boy to whip out his genitals to girls. Last I checked,
Yeah, so...
that's sexualizing a minor.
I wanted to
No, it's not. No, 16 is the legal age of consent, you absolute moron.
make a video reacting to her censorship video.
If she wanted to upload a video literally to YouTube saying, hey, Tommy Innit, I want to have sex with you. I want to suck your cock. I want to ride you like a fucking horse. She can do that. She's well within her legal right to do that. He's not a minor.
That she uploaded on YouTube that I saw earlier today, where I guess she's gonna talk about, you know, why her channel was taken down off TikTok. I love that her sign says, thank you for being vegan, the animals. Like, bitch, you do.
There we go. Another B word. Let's report that. Hateful, abusive content, bullying. Next. So let's just go back like, you know, 2 seconds to make sure. She calls another YouTuber a bitch. She does this multiple times throughout the video. There we go. So you're in favor of deplatforming. You're in favor of banning people who say things that you don't like. Well, I don't like what you're saying, so I'm going to report you. And it certainly is against YouTube terms of service. So if your video gets taken down, you get a DMCA, community guideline strike. Well, guess you get a taste of your own medicine.
Do more harm to animals than most people. I think it's funny when vegan.
Yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. Your average person actually pays for roughly 100 animals to get killed per year. Claiming that she's causing more harm to animals than most people is just absolutely ridiculous. A vegan activist who turns people vegan, she does. I would say it's totally reasonable to expect her to change at least one person per day to veganism, considering how big her TikTok channel is, how big her YouTube channel is, how big her outreach is. Totally reasonable to expect her to turn one person per day vegan. That means per day she's going to save about 100 animals per year. So claiming that she's actually causing more harm than your average person is absolutely ridiculous. For this to make any sense, you'd have to prove that meat intake increases when people watch her videos, and to the point where it outpaces, the amount of people she turns vegan. It is just insane.
Start eating a vegan diet and they automatically think that they're the most ethical human beings on the planet.
That's a complete straw man. So I'm sure she just understands that being vegan is a moral baseline. She doesn't think she's the most ethical person on the planet. Straw man.
Just because you eat a certain diet that doesn't harm animals directly, that doesn't mean that you're not harming animals.
Okay, so what she's trying to suggest here is that going vegan doesn't really save animal lives. So let's actually look at some data on this, since, this woman claims she's all about science. So number of animals killed to produce 1 million calories in 8 food categories. So chicken here, 237.6 animals are killed just in slaughter, and another 13.5 are killed in harvest. So that's the worst. The best animal product is milk, which is 4.74 animals killed for harvest and 0.05 animals killed in slaughter to produce 1 million calories. The worst plant source of food is vegetables, which is 2.55. Fruits are 1.73, grains are 1.65. So the bulk of, somebody's, meat intake, it's probably going to average out to around 100 animals per year. With vegans, you'd expect it to be somewhere between 1 and 2. So to claim, oh, just because you're vegan, that doesn't mean you're not killing animals, that's just incredibly disingenuous. The amount of animal lives that you end up the amount of animal lives you end up sparing is massive. There's a massive ethical difference between eating a vegan diet, which is going to unintentionally kill some animals through harvest and crop deaths, versus you're talking your average person 100 animals per year with a typical diet. It's incredibly disingenuous. Look, if you actually believed this, if you actually believed that going vegan and switching to a vegan diet doesn't really do much for reducing animal deaths, then why are you eating a vegan diet? What would be the point? So this is idiotic.
This woman has turned so many people off veganism that the animals probably hate you, because you've probably caused more people to eat meat than not.
No
and
evidence.
if you call me a donut, that's fine.
Vegan donut.
You're vegan from now on.
So she uses this video as an example of her turning people off of veganism. Gordon Ramsay's an asshole. We all know that. So I don't know why she's responsible for encouraging more people to eat meat when Gordon Ramsay's eaten meat forever. Why is she to blame for that? And look what she's doing. Let's look at the lyrics to her song. Gordon Ramsay, hurting animals is wrong. Gordon Ramsay, share the song. And if you call me a donut, that's fine, as long as you're vegan from now on. Apparently singing a silly little song on a ukulele saying, please stop hurting animals, that's wrong. She's literally saying it's wrong to do this. And she calls herself a vegan activist. As a vegan activist, she's claiming it's wrong to tell people to stop hurting animals. You're not a vegan activist, you're not a vegan if you think This is wrong. This is completely harmless. If anything, it's encouraging people to go vegan. It's just pointing out, like, look, hurting animals is wrong. What is the issue with this? And this is your example of, look how terrible that vegan teacher is. Clearly, she's not as terrible as you're claiming.
Censorship, why good people must rise up and speak out. You are not a good person. You're homophobic. You're
yeah, guess what? That vegan teacher is bisexual. She's part of the LGBTQ community, and I can tell she's not watched any of her fucking content, because if she did, she'd know that. So she's literally claiming that somebody who's part of the LGBTQ community is homophobic. So is she self-hating? Does she hate herself? Since she's bisexual, she's attracted to women, so I guess she hates herself. And here's the quote she's talking about. Coming out as an animal rights activist is one of the most courageous, unselfish things you can do, because it is not about you, it's about others. What is homophobic about saying that? And this is coming from somebody who's bisexual, who's part of the LGBTQ community. I think she is, she's probably one of the best people to say this, and she's more informed than you are, as far as I know. She's heterosexual, I'm not sure. But yeah, I'd say somebody who's part of the LGBTQ community would be well within reason and in a good position to say this, since she has personal experience with this sort of thing. What is homophobic about this? Give an argument. She never gives an argument.
homophobic. You're racist.
So now she's accusing her of racism. She's not racist, and this is her evidence that she's racist. So here's the clip of an article. The vegan teacher asks, do you know how your ancestors were treated, enslaved, and murdered? Do you not know what they do to animals right now? She compares the treatment of African slaves a couple centuries back to how animals are killed for food now. Some users have said that she is invalidating slavery and is valuing animal lives just as much, or even more than humans. Okay, so I'm black. What she said is not racist. What she said is completely reasonable, and if anything, I would say animals are treated worse than African slaves. Last I checked, African slaves, for the most part, weren't kept in insanely tiny, damp, dark sheds their entire fucking lives. They weren't fed hormones that made them grow extremely fast to the point where they're in serious pain and agony all the time and they can't even walk. And they don't get their arms and legs ripped off as they're shoved onto fucking transport trucks where they're shipped off to a slaughterhouse where they'll get their throat slit open where they're fully conscious. I'd say that is not the experience of the vast majority of African slaves. And what's funny, at the time, during slavery, there were human rights activists who would speak out against, how slavery is wrong just on a fundamental level and the abuses that go on during slavery. And one of the arguments from slave traders was that the slaves are given a better life than they otherwise would in their home country. So I think it's a completely reasonable statement. There's nothing wrong with making the statement that, look, if your ancestors were treated horribly, similarly to these animals, and you think that treatment was bad, well, then you shouldn't support that same treatment to another marginalized group. There's nothing racist about that. I'm black. I think I'm in a better position to speak on this from you, since I come from that sort of culture. You're a rich, privileged white girl. Please do not speak for all black people when your life experience is completely unrelatable to my own and other black people. So you can fuck off with this virtue signaling shit. You don't give a shit about black people. If you did, maybe you'd actually agree to fucking debate me and have a black person come on your fucking channel and talk about this. You don't give a fuck what black people think. If you did, I think you'd at least have the common decency to at least talk to me about some of this stuff, or another black vegan activist. But you won't. All you're doing is using black people as a prop for your virtue signaling bullshit, where your only goal here is to slander that vegan teacher because for some reason you just personally don't like her. You're just using black people as a prop so that you can slander someone. You don't give a shit about black people. If anyone's being racist here is you, because you're using and exploiting black people for your own fucking benefit. So fuck off with this virtue signaling shit. This isn't an argument. You're just being stupid and racist. You
literally compare veganism to religions.
She never did that. So that vegan teacher is atheist. If you ever bothered watching her videos, you would know this. She's against religion. She's atheist, and she promotes critical thinking, and she encourages people to leave their religions. Just like, this is just taking a song she wrote out of context and not understanding what she meant because you never saw her content. This is ridiculous.
Instead of just changing your diet, you should be trying to better the lives.
Oh, don't forget to report. Oh, right. I should do that.
Homophobic.
Okay, I will report because she's actually lying. Hateful, abusive content, bullying, next. She accuses another YouTuber of being homophobic and racist when this is completely untrue and does not provide any arguments or evidence for this claim. There you go.
You're racist. You literally compare veganism to religions. Instead of just changing your diet, you should be trying to better the lives of animals and the environment. Go out and clean up the ocean with groups, clean the plastic out, volunteer your time at animal rescue shelters. Why don't you actually go out and do humanitarian efforts? Just because you eat a
Humanitarianism has nothing to do with veganism, so why would she if her main goal is veganism?
diet, it doesn't make you a better person than other people.
Yeah, it does. Not supporting a Holocaust makes you a better person than people who do support a Holocaust. This is absolutely ridiculous. Is Jeffrey Dahmer no worse than someone who does not kill and eat people? Again, name the trait. So name the trait that's lacking in animals, that if lacking in trait equalized human beings, it would not be a moral consequence to murder trait equalized human beings. She's literally saying, oh yeah, it's totally fine to kill and eat animals. It doesn't make a difference in terms of, you know, how good of a person you are. This is coming from somebody who claims to be vegan and a vegan activist. She's saying, doesn't make a difference if you kill and eat animals. Okay, so then why do you eat a vegan diet? Why don't you kill and eat animals if it doesn't make a difference? This is ridiculous. And she doesn't have a moral obligation to, like, help at a, I don't know, animal sanctuary. She doesn't have a moral obligation to clear plastic from the ocean. She's doing the bare minimum, which is being vegan. She's chosen to be a vegan activist and speak out for the animals and encourage other people to be vegan. I don't know why she has to necessarily help animals in any other way. And if you're going to make an argument that she should maximize her time to help animals as much as possible, well, by my estimations, going on YouTube and TikTok and spending most of her time doing vegan activism on those platforms would probably be a better use of her time, because on those platforms, she could encourage other people to be vegan, encourage other people to be vegan activists, and then that is turning more people vegan who will help more animals versus her only helping, you know, animals herself in, you know, whatever ways are possible for her, like helping out an animal sanctuary. Doing vegan activism, in theory, would end up helping more animals because you're turning more people vegan. So I don't know why she's saying she should prioritize helping out at an animal sanctuary versus uploading to YouTube. This doesn't make any sense.
Now, I personally agree that everyone should be vegan, but that's my own beliefs, and I would never force my beliefs on somebody else.
Then you're not a vegan activist. So, like, notice how she's defining what forcing your beliefs on someone is. She's saying you should not encourage anyone to be vegan. You should not encourage anyone, use your freedom of speech, and advocate for somebody to follow your moral beliefs. That's what she's defining as forcing your beliefs on someone else. Well, again, let's look at the videos on your goddamn channel. You made a video criticizing somebody for not riding horses and treating horses the way you do. You make a lot of fucking videos on that exact topic. Let's see, our bits a welfare issue. You made a video discouraging people from using bits. I guess you're forcing your beliefs on other people. So if you're going to use that, like, just encouraging people to follow your ethical beliefs, if that is forcing your beliefs on people, well, then I guess you're guilty of that. I don't see what's wrong with forcing your beliefs on people if all that means is using your freedom of speech to encourage people of your ethical beliefs. And you very clearly do believe in actually enforcing your beliefs, forcing your beliefs on other people. I'm sure you would be in favor of locking up serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer. That's forcing your beliefs on him. If you're in favor of the police force, if you're in favor of fundamental human rights, then you are forcing your beliefs on other fucking people. What is wrong with that? If your beliefs are correct, if your beliefs save lives, what is wrong with forcing your beliefs on someone else? Especially in the context of just making videos encouraging people to go vegan. So this woman's not a vegan activist. She's not even vegan herself. She's just lying.
Ever. I really hate her
She's
so
a
much.
virtue
I have
signaler.
so much to say about her, but I should honestly just react to this because I need to. Otherwise, I'm never going to get through it.
Many of you woke up this morning and found out that my account was banned on TikTok. And I know many of you are jumping for joy and thinking that this is a great victory.
Yes.
Somehow, it makes you smile to know that an animal rights activist...
Karen, listen to me. You are turning people away from vegetarianism and veganism
has
and
no
better
evidence of
ways
this.
of ethical living. You don't
No
even feed
evidence
your
of
dog
this.
the proper
Okay.
diet. You are
So this woman is claiming to be vegan, but she's encouraging feeding tortured, murdered animals to her dog. How can you be vegan and feed another animal dead, tortured animals? So wait, what? You're encouraging us to increase animal abuse? So if I own a companion animal, I'm supposed to torture and kill other animals to feed to that animal when there's vegan alternatives. This woman's not vegan. Like, again, I've already sent her a debate request. Debate me. Debate me on all these issues. You're never going to do it because you don't care about black people like you claim. When you have an opportunity to platform a black vegan activist, you won't because I disagree with you and you don't give a shit about black people. You just use people like me as a tool, as a plaything to make these vindictive, stupid videos against people you don't like. You're racist, and that's why you won't debate me.
diet. You are not an animal activist.
And you cannot
Yes,
look
she
in
is.
the mirror and see that.
You're not an animal rights activist. You literally claimed you do not believe in using freedom of speech to advocate for your ethical beliefs. So you're not a vegan activist.
In you. You're suffering from cognitive dissonance. You think you're a good person, but on the other hand, you pay people to rape, torture, and murder these innocent animals who never did one single thing wrong to you. So when an animal rights activist like me, a middle-aged, gray-haired woman who's 56, and who is a school teacher and a nurse, gets shot down.
It's terrifying to me that this woman taught children.
This somehow
Please provide evidence that she was a bad teacher. More ridiculous claims that she can't support with evidence.
brings you great joy, as if you're playing a video game. But this is real life. It's not a video game. There are actual victims.
Yeah, victims like the 16-year-old boy that you made sexually explicit jokes about.
Okay, so legal age of consent is 16. If you have a problem with that, then maybe you should speak to the legislators in Canada and the UK. She is totally within her legal right to solicit sex from a 16-year-old. 16 is not a minor. You can be 100 years old and have sex with a 16-year-old in Canada or in the UK. There's nothing wrong with that. And we already saw the clip. It was not a sexually explicit joke. Compared to the content that Tommy Innit watches, like Grand Theft Auto, I'm sure he watches porn on his computer. He's a 16-year-old boy. What fucking 16-year-old boy doesn't watch porn? Most people lose their virginity at the age of 16. Like, claiming holding up a cucumber and a couple pears is so sexually explicit that if you show a cucumber and a pair of pears to a 16-year-old, that's sexual child abuse. Then you're living on a completely different planet. Like, get real. Do you believe that every guy who offers you like a drink at a bar is a rapist? Like, is that the standard that we're gonna go by? Get real. So we got to report this again.
Victims.
Yeah,
So we got to report this again. Report. Let's see. Hateful, abusive content, bullying. Next. She is spreading lies about another YouTuber claiming that they are a child abuser, even though there is no evidence for this claim, and they are deliberately... Why can't I spell deliberately? Deliberately lying to slander. There we go. So this is just very clearly a deliberate lie. There's no fucking way in hell that this is not just an intentional lie. Yeah, most people lose their virginity at 16. Most 16-year-old boys watch porn. Most 16-year-old boys have played graphic and sexually explicit games like Grand Theft Auto. Claiming that holding up a cucumber and a set of pears is like child abuse of a minor is ridiculous. And if she bothered looking up age of consent laws in the UK and Canada, she'd know that is completely legal. If she wanted to solicit sex from a 16-year-old, she's well within her rights to do so.
Victims like the 16-year-old boy
He's
that
not a
you
victim.
made sexually explicit jokes about. Victims like the people who you said veganism is just like being gay or bisexual.
She never said that. That's a straw man, and she's bisexual. So if she wanted to make that sort of statement, I think she's well within her right to. She knows about bisexuality since she's bisexual herself, so what's wrong with that?
Or black. You're fucking insane, dude. You're fucking insane.
There are actual animals who are suffering
Yeah, you're telling
right
me.
now.
Yeah, and what are you doing about it? I don't see you going out and trying to rescue animals. I don't see you going out and volunteering your time at sanctuaries. I don't see you donating your money to the veterinary care.
She doesn't have any moral obligation to do that. She's doing animal rights activism, and if you're going to argue that she should maximize her time to help as many animals as possible, then you should be advocating her to spend more time on YouTube, since that creates more vegan activists who will actually help and save animals. So, ridiculous argument.
Of all those animals that are being rescued, I don't see you doing anything.
One of the things I really didn't like.
Yeah, maybe that's also because you don't watch any of her content. She's clearly lying about her. She clearly doesn't know about her. She's clearly not watched much of her content. So maybe the reason why you don't see her helping or doing anything is because you've never even watched her content in the first place.
About being a teacher is that I couldn't just trust the kids to go on the internet and look up things. I wanted to be able to let them go to see Dominion movement and the way that these animals are treated. But I couldn't do that because I would get in trouble if they accidentally went onto a disturbing site, i.e. the truth.
What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? The fact that she clearly did this to children in her class and then
so this is another lie. She claimed that she couldn't do that. She couldn't let her kid, like the kids in her class, go online and look up like Dominion because they could go on like bad websites or something. She literally just told you she couldn't do that. So accusing her of doing this is just ridiculous. She never said she did it.
Then she got reprimanded for them going on to disturbing sites. When I was in high school, I took equine science and equine veterinary.
She never taught high school. I believe the oldest group of kids she taught were 8th graders, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was grades 6 through 8. I could be wrong, though. But they were younger kids. They weren't high schoolers. So comparing your experience to her experience teaching is a little disingenuous. Totally different age group.
And agriculture classes.
Hi, buddy. You're so small. Yes, you are. You're so small. Hi, Mommy. You smelling my shoes? Hi.
All of which I studied veganism and vegetarianism and even watched videos like Food Inc. in the classroom. This is my problem with her, is she thinks that just because she had one experience that all schools are doing that, and that's just not true.
Okay, so this is ridiculous. She was teaching elementary school kids who are like 6th graders, claiming that your experience in high school was different than her experience teaching 6th graders. It just doesn't make any sense. I remember when I was in 6th grade, they wouldn't allow you to go on the school's computer and use the internet unless you got permission from your parents and stuff. So they're worried about kids that age just going online. They're not worried about that in high school. Obviously, in high school, you can use the internet whenever you want. So making this comparison is just ridiculous. That vegan teacher also was an English teacher in a French school. She wasn't teaching an animal agriculture class. So that also complicated things a little bit further. Like the classroom expectations of like what learning material you're expected to watch. Like obviously in an agriculture class, you're more expected to look at scenes of like animal slaughter or something, whereas in a English class at a French school with sixth graders, it's a little bit different. So making this comparison just doesn't make any sense. Like, again, she's never looked at that vegan teacher's content or knows anything about it.
I did not grow up in a farming area, and even I studied it when I was in school. And I mean, I didn't even go vegan until maybe my senior year of high school, and that was because of all the stuff I was doing in school and all the research I was doing in my agriculture classes. Things that I was learning in school is one of the reasons that made me go vegan initially. You should not, first of all, be showing children these graphic images. There's better ways to get this across.
Why can you not show children where their food comes from? So it's okay to feed kids dead, tortured animals, but it's not okay to show them like where their food comes from? I don't understand that. I don't know why kids shouldn't be informed on like what happens in the real world. I remember when I was pretty young, and I believe in grade 4, our textbooks, when we were learning about the Holocaust in school, our textbooks showed actual like photographs from the Holocaust, like piles of dead bodies, emaciated victims who were like starving to death. Like, was that wrong to show kids? I think a very great way to teach kids about morality, some like horrible things that happened in the past, it's to show them visually. That's one of the best teaching methods, is to show them visually what has happened. Why is it wrong to show kids how their food is produced?
Did not, even in high school, we did not watch like graphic videos of animals being like raped or slaughtered or any of those things. And yet still, the vast majority of people in my class did end up choosing to go vegan or vegetarian. People have to make the choices for themselves.
So this doesn't make any sense. She's saying that people have to make the choices for themselves, but she's advocating to hide necessary information from people so that they can't make an informed choice. Well, if you're in favor of someone making an informed choice, then why wouldn't you want them to see where their food comes from? Like, wouldn't that be pretty important information to actually see so that you can make an informed choice? So she's saying you should make an informed choice, but then she's also advocating hiding information away so that you can't make an informed choice. I still haven't heard an argument for why we shouldn't show kids, even at high school ages, like mid-teens, where their food comes from. Should we just lie to children and say, oh, well, meat comes from, magic fairy tale land, and it rains from the sky, and no animals are harmed? Is that what we should tell them? This doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand why kids shouldn't know where their food comes from.
They have to choose that themselves, and that's what you don't understand.
The parents are also...
She's literally advocating to take choice away from people by making them uninformed. So how does showing kids animal slaughterhouse footage entail that you're taking choice away from them? If anything, they're more set up to make a choice because they have all the information they need to make a choice.
So scared. In our society right now, parents are mere children. They've never actually grown up. They're just an older version of their kids. I learned this now because after being on TikTok and watching the amount of duets that are going on there and realizing it's horrifying how uneducated the vast majority of the population is.
You included. You don't know any.
This woman has a nursing degree. She's worked as a teacher. I don't know how you could say she's uneducated and she knows what, like, the consequences of her food choice. I don't know what makes her uneducated and uninformed.
Anything about what you're talking about. This is a woman who literally referenced a book from an animal abuser as to why equestrianism as a whole should be shut down. Don't even come at us by saying that we're uneducated when you don't even do the slightest bit of research on the subjects that you go on and you berate people about.
Yeah, she's one to talk. So this is a composition fallacy. Fallacy of composition is assuming that because one part of the whole is a certain way, that means the entire whole is that way. So basically she's saying, because that vegan teacher made one bad video about horsemanship, that means every video she's ever made on any topic is bad. So it's funny how she's talking about, you don't know anything. Like, look at the amount of errors she's made in this video. She's made ad hominem attacks constantly, spread lies, misinformation. She's relying on, like, informal logical fallacies, like composition fallacies all the time. And then she's claiming that vegan teacher's uneducated. You're a joke.
Out on TikTok. Excuse me?
So of course it's normal that they would want to take somebody down who confronts all these different groups of people.
No, it's normal that we would want to take somebody down who sexually harasses a 16-year-old.
Oh, get fucking real. Okay, so again, let's a reporter for bullying again, hateful abusive content, bullying, next. Let's see. She accuses another YouTuber of sexually harassing a minor, which is completely untrue. Here we go. So again, I'd encourage everyone to go through a video and report for bullying at those timestamps. Like, we've already seen it. Apparently holding a cucumber in pears up is sexual harassment. So guess the next dude who offers you a cup of coffee or offers to take you out on a date, guess you might as well report him to the police for rape.
Sexually harasses a 16-year-old. Bye.
If you ever think you're not
It's fucking
powerful,
stupid.
think of it this way. If a group of teenage boys can gather together behind the scenes and start attacking somebody like me, an animal rights activist, or any other, because it won't be long before they come after all the other animal rights activists, then think of what that same group of kids could do if they actually fought for good.
Bitch, I'm an animal rights activist.
There we go, another bitch. So let's report her for bullying again. Report hateful abusive content, bullying, next. She calls another YouTuber a bitch and uses similar nasty language all throughout the video, which is meant to harass and intimidate. There we go.
Bitch, I'm an animal rights activist and I've been on YouTube for...
You're not an animal rights activist. You've literally admitted multiple times that you're against using your freedom of speech to encourage people to adhere to your moral principles. So no, you've literally admitted multiple times throughout this video you're against animal rights activism.
like 7 years, and I don't have people coming for me because I don't have outlandish arguments. I don't push my beliefs.
She has, okay, you do push your beliefs on other people. We've seen your videos, so that's just an absolute lie. You've never explained why that vegan teacher's arguments are outlandish. The only thing you've done is accused her of being racist and homophobic when you're the only racist here. You use black people as pawns so that you can virtue signal and slander other people. You're the fucking racist here. So, no, this isn't an argument. Again, this is just one long character attack.
Onto other people, and yet I still get letters upon letters upon letters every week in the mail from people who have converted to veganism.
So does that vegan teacher, so I don't know why you think you're doing better than her. Look, I've given you examples of people freaking out at vegan activists when they were doing something completely reasonable and okay. I've seen vegan activists get attacked on the street, assaulted, just for handing out flyers to people who stop and talk to them. They're not even like trying to hand out flyers to people. They're just standing on the side of the street, handing out flyers to anybody who wants to talk. I've seen vegan activists get assaulted for that sort of shit. So just because people respond to you badly, that doesn't mean what you are saying is bad or wrong or inappropriate. Once again, rather than attacking her arguments, she's just relying on how people respond to her as some sort of proxy indicator for like what she's saying. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Why can't you respond to a single one of her arguments and make like an actual counter argument or explain why she's homophobic or why she's racist? No, you can't. You're just using these buzzwords because you just want to slander her, and you're a liar.
Or vegetarianism, or rescued animals, or started volunteering their time at places because of my videos and my channel. And I don't have a single person coming for me. I don't have a single person trying to get my videos removed. I don't have...
Yeah, you do. Me. Yeah, you fucking do. I'm sure there's plenty of other people watching this, so I guess you're a shit vegan activist. Oh, you turn more people off of... Well, yeah, she actually does turn more people off of veganism, clearly, because she's against veganism. She's against calling animal agriculture a Holocaust. She's against vegan activism in any form because she's against using freedom of speech to encourage people to make ethical choices. Like... You're literally an anti-vegan.
Have that because I'm a reasonable, rational...
No, you're not. What was reasonable or irrational? This was one long character attack, and you made no arguments. This is so goddamn delusional. If you think you're reasonable and rational, please come onto my channel. Please. We'll have a debate, and we'll see how reasonable and rational you are. Oh my god, I'd love to see this woman just flounder and trip over her own words and just rage quit because she can't come up with a single argument.
Animal rights activists. I do a lot, but I expect a little, and I get a lot more than a little. You are trying to...
No, you don't. No, you encourage people to not be vegan. You claim that by not eating meat or animal products, you're making no difference. So why would anyone be encouraged to stop eating animal products? This is just ridiculous. This is like even worse than Swayze.
To guilt trip people into being vegan, which is a terrible, terrible, terrible way.
I'm never...
Yeah, people should feel guilty about not being vegan. If they shouldn't feel guilty, why would they be encouraged to go vegan? They should be guilty for supporting a Holocaust. Like, if you shouldn't feel guilty for supporting a Holocaust, what should you feel guilty for? So, yes, if you're going to argue for veganism, you are going to have to make people feel guilty for their actions. What other way is there to do vegan activism? This is just insane.
We're gonna quit. You can close down one account, you can close down another one, I will keep popping up. Or if you keep closing them down and eventually you've used up all of the means, I will still be in front of my house with a sign, or in a shopping center protesting, or filming other activists. The chickens, the cows, the pigs, the lambs, the turkeys, they all have a right to their body integrity. They all have a right to live. The billions of animals that are so badly mistreated, systemically, not just the occasional one, but crammed into places that are as horrible as the Nazi death camps.
See what I mean? See what I mean? Oh my god.
Not hearing an argument, she's just going, oh my god, oh my god. What's the argument? So yes, I would say at the very least, animal agriculture is as bad as Nazi death camps. These animals are abused constantly on a daily basis, and they're killed in absolutely brutal ways, which includes fucking gas chambers. And if you look at the sheer amount of deaths, you're talking about trillions of deaths each year versus only 5 million deaths. From like there are a total of 10 million in these death camps, but they weren't all Jews. Versus 5 to 10 million in the Holocaust. Like, no, they are worse just by sheer numbers. Even if we were to concede that animals can't suffer as much as a human being, just by sheer numbers alone, animal agriculture is worse than Nazi death camps. Again, I'd ask you, would you rather relive the experience of, let's say, 10 million people who suffered and died in the Holocaust, or relive the experience of the trillions of animals that have suffered and died in animal agriculture? I think the answer is obvious to me. I'd rather relive the 10 million deaths in Nazi death camps because you'd have to suffer and die far less. So unless she can come up with an argument, I don't see how you can say that vegan teacher is being unreasonable.
This is why people fucking hate her. I can't, dude. This is so embarrassing.
Yeah, this is embarrassing. You're not making an argument.
Don't compare what you're trying to do and your message to other shitty things that happened in the world. I would never, ever, ever do that. You don't do that, okay? This is so wrong.
She didn't make an argument. She just appealed to her own sensibilities. I'd never do that, so you shouldn't do that. Everything I do is right. Everything you do is wrong. That's not an argument. So I'd love to have you have a conversation with Alex Hershoft, who's a Holocaust survivor. Please tell him that he shouldn't make statements like this, a Holocaust survivor. As I became more familiar with animal farming and slaughter operations, I noted more striking similarities between what the Nazis did to us and what we're doing to the animals. Please tell Holocaust survivor Alex Hershoft that. I'd love to hear it. So this is a very reasonable tactic. If there is one marginalized group that is being treated similarly to another marginalized group, this marginalized group has not been granted any rights, but you're an activist and you want to point out that this marginalized group should be given rights. I think one of the best ways to argue for that is to point out the similarities between how these marginalized groups are being treated. So what is the argument for why we shouldn't compare animal agriculture to a Holocaust when literal Holocaust survivors have made this comparison? She doesn't even make an argument. She just says, I never do that. Okay, well, you're a rich white girl. Like, the experiences of black people, of Jews, of other marginalized groups, you cannot relate to them in any way. So it makes sense that you wouldn't use an argument since you can't relate to any of these marginalized groups. You're actually a fucking racist, as we've proved on the stream. You don't even care about black people. You don't even see them as people. You see them as pawns that you can use for your own advantage so that you can slander other people that you like. So no shit, a racist like you wouldn't want to point out how other marginalized groups are treated like other marginalized groups.
In fact, worse. The animals have it worse.
Stop. Stop, stop, stop. Even if that's something that you personally believe, you don't say shit like that out loud, okay?
Okay, tell Alex Hershoft, a Holocaust survivor, to never say that. Tell him, a guy who's actually survived the Holocaust, tell him.
Okay, you don't know how other species think, how they feel. You don't understand their level of cognitive abilities. Every single species sees fundamental reality differently. What could be hard to me could be soft to something else. What could be soft to me could be hard to something else.
So again, she's supporting the idea of solipsism, where we can't know any other minds. I don't know why you would go to the conclusion that animals can't think and feel like we can, but you wouldn't use that same sort of logical standard with human beings. Okay, I could say other human beings can't think and feel like I can, so it's not a big deal if I harm other human beings. It's funny how she claims that Tommy Innit is being sexually abused by that vegan teacher. Okay, well, you can't understand his mind. You can't understand what he's going through. It's weird, the double standards here. And especially as a vegan, I don't know why you'd appeal to this, and your first assumption is that animals can't think and feel like we can, and they can't suffer as great as we can. Why would that be your first assumption? If you're going to claim ignorance, we can't understand them. Okay, well, why would the assumption be they suffer less? Why wouldn't the default assumption be they suffer about the same? Why wouldn't you assume that they suffer more? Again, there's reasons to believe that animals might actually experience pain to a greater level than we can, because they would have more since they're not as intelligent, they can't make sound, rational decisions like we can. So if we see something that's harmful, we can rationalize avoiding that, but they can't. So them having a greater pain response would be an evolutionary advantage because they don't have the intelligence we do. But if they had a higher pain response, they'd be better suited to avoid harmful, noxious stimuli. So I don't know why the default position is they can't suffer as much, even if we do concede that, okay, they can't suffer as much as we can. Why can't we still compare what they're going through to a Holocaust? If there were theoretical human beings who had same level of sentience as animals, would you say it's not a Holocaust, that they're not being tortured and murdered? Like, none of this makes any sense. She's not coming up with a fucking argument. She's just appealing to solipsism. Oh, we can't know any other minds. Well, okay, you can't know the minds of Holocaust victims. I guess we can't say for sure whether or not the Holocaust was a bad thing. Like, this is just idiotic. I don't know why the default position wouldn't be, they can probably suffer to a similar extent as we can. So it's totally reasonable to compare what they're going through, like, to what the Jews went through.
You don't know how other animals feel. And if you're going to pretend like you do, then you're projecting your own feelings and emotions onto other species.
You're projecting your own feelings and emotions onto other people, like with Tommy Innit accusing him of being a victim of sexual abuse. You're projecting your own feelings onto Holocaust victims. You're projecting your own feelings onto black people. Like, you've done this all throughout the stream. If you're going to claim that we should rely on solipsism, we can't know any other mind, then, okay, why does this only apply to animals? Why do we assume that animals have a lower level, like a lower ability to suffer than we do? Like, none of this makes any sense.
And we can't judge other species' intelligence levels off of our own intelligence levels because we see fundamental reality differently than they do. So judging another species off of our level.
Oh, okay, so yeah, let's just assume that when I slice a pig's throat open, it's not really suffering, right? Like, I can't know any other mind. What if I tried to kill you? Oh, yeah, well, you know what, I can't know your mind. Maybe you're just a robot. Maybe you're not even sentient. So, you know, I can't project my feelings onto you. That would be unreasonable. So, like, I can't know if any other minds exist, so killing you is fine. Like, this is her line of reasoning.
Level of intelligence is hysterical. Now, can we objectively sit back here and judge what is a good quality of life for an animal based on how they would live in the wild? Absolutely. So
how is that at all possible? When humans lived in the wild, we didn't have a good quality of life, and we have a much better quality of life living in cities. So I don't know why you'd assume an animal's natural way of life would necessarily be better than a different way of life that we could provide with, like, modern technology. Secondly, if you're going to claim that we can't understand other minds and we don't know what animals are thinking or going through, then how can you say that we know in any way what is good for an animal and what is bad for an animal? Like, if you're going to rely on this, like, weird solipsism philosophy that we can't understand other minds, then how can you know what's good or bad for an animal? This is just contradictory.
So please, for the love of God, stop projecting your feelings and emotions onto other species and look at this objectively. Do I think
She's not looking at, she literally said we cannot understand other minds, so how is there any way to look at this objectively?
that animals are treated poorly? Absolutely.
I don't think she even understands what objective means.
I would never ever compare a different species to humans, not because I think that their life is of less value, but it's because I don't know how they think. I don't know how they see things. I don't know what.
Okay, so why is this only true of animals? Why wouldn't this be true of other human beings? You don't know how another mind sees things. You don't know how another mind feels. So why is this just unique to animals, this solipsism idea?
What they want for their lives. So the most that I can do is scientific research on how that animal has been studied to live in the wild.
Okay, especially with what she just said, I don't understand how this relates at all with making the comparison between, like, the Jewish Holocaust and animal agriculture as being a Holocaust. Like, regardless, you'd agree they're suffering immensely and killing is wrong. So I don't understand why, like, just because you don't understand, like, I don't know, like, their intricate preferences and how they want to live, I don't understand how that would necessarily mean you can't compare this to a Holocaust. Let's say there was an alien species and we didn't speak their language, but they seem to have as much intelligence as we do, but they had different cultural customs. If we were to round them up, put them in cages and murder them, you'd call that a Holocaust. You don't need to know every intricate detail about, like, another species' culture and language and personal preferences to recognize something as a Holocaust. So what she just said was completely irrelevant.
The Holocaust never ended for them. Yes, they have it worse.
Make an argument. She's rolling her eyes and shit, like,
and I know
make an
you
argument.
don't realize it because I saw your duets before my account was taken down. I saw this one girl yelling at the camera and saying, "You don't understand. How can you say that these animals are treated the way that the Jewish prisoners were? They're not raped." Yes, they are. They're not forced into slavery. Yes, they are.
Why is she rolling her eyes?
They're not murdered.
You know what I think she might have done? I think she recorded this at a different time, maybe, like, than the video footage, maybe? But, yeah, maybe she's just doing this to, I don't know, react, make the video more like, these reactions don't make any sense. She claims she's vegan. She claims she's a vegan activist. Then when she's talking about animals being abused, she's like, like, why? Why would you have that reaction?
Yes, they are. They're not put into gas chambers. Yes, they are.
I mean, she's just making a mockery of herself. At this point, she's like
How?
the troll of the animal.
How? What's the argument? Pigs are put into literal gas chambers. Jews were put into gas chambers. There's a lot of similarities. Like, what is ridiculous about what she's saying? She won't even explain why.
Activist community, and she's just doing this for monetary gain, clearly because
You're clearly doing this for monetary gain. You did not make one single argument this entire video. All of this is a personal attack, and you know it's just a popular meme to just slander that vegan teacher. You did not do this for any valid intellectual purpose. You did this purely for attention and money.
because this video is monetized, but yet
Or
she
just to be
disabled the
vindictive.
comments and the likes and dislikes.
Use all the power that you have going forward to educate yourself. Use your critical thinking skills. Go and actually watch the documentaries that all of us have watched.
Why does she keep doing that?
Go to watchdominion.com and don't be cowardly about it. Don't watch it in a group of people while you talk. There are many cowardly teenagers here on YouTube who have said that they watched Dominion and it was a joke. To them, they thought it was funny.
No, because they're making a mockery of you, and that's what you don't understand. You're so outrageous as a human being that all people can
And she won't explain why.
do is poke fun at you. I'm sure that those people
Yeah, all they can do is poke fun at you. All they can do is poke fun at her because no one has an argument against her position, including you. No shit. You've summed things up perfectly. If what she is saying is unreasonable or wrong in some sort of way, they'd be able to make an argument against her, but no, all they can do is poke fun, all they can do is slander and lie about her, because they don't have an argument against any of her views, and that includes you. It is just amazing how unaware this person is.
people who reacted to you don't actually think that it's funny
The
what
lack
happened
of
to the animals.
self-awareness
They're
is
doing it
just
to get
insane.
a rise out of you because you're an idiot and you're a troll.
You're an idiot and a troll. What have you done this entire time? All you've done is just slander her.
Nothing funny about watching this mother pig in a tight, confined space. So tight that she can't even turn around.
Her face is irritating
And when her
me.
babies are born and one of them is dead, and the brother or sister looks desperately for some warmth and lies down on the dead body of their sibling, there's nothing funny about that. And the baby boy chicks that are born and an assembly line goes by and people pick them up, and if they're boys, put them on a separate assembly line and they go in to be murdered, ground up alive.
Yeah, everybody report her for bullying.
It's so clear that that vegan teacher literally just watched like 4 of the most stereotypical vegan movies, which are good movies, but there's so much other research to do on the agricultural industry as a whole.
When we can absolutely
No, there really isn't. Seeing those documentaries like Earthlings, Dominion, that's enough for you to make an informed decision to not eat meat anymore. If you see that, gee, animal agriculture is a literal Holocaust, why, for making the choice to go to veganism, why would you need to do any more research? Sure, look into how to follow, a plant-based diet properly and everything, but why is she making this point? Like, oh, there's so much other research. Okay, those are good documentaries to watch, to inform, and they're accessible too. Why, what's the issue with her promoting Dominion or Earthlings? I don't know why she made this point.
absolutely survive without eating eggs or chickens or pigs or cows. There's absolutely nothing normal okay about us raping these mother cows, forcing them to be pregnant with sperm.
I don't know
that came
what she's
from
rolling
us
her eyes at.
masturbating a bull. It is a Holocaust that the animals are going through. There's nothing okay about it. And anyone who thinks that there is something okay with that needs help.
See, again, I mean, she talks about the industry, and there are certain parts of the industry that are like that are really, really terrible. But then at the end, she completely invalidates everything she says because she refers it again back to the Holocaust.
How does that invalidate anything she said? It is a Holocaust. Literal Holocaust survivors have likened it to a Holocaust. For the love of God, make an argument for why you can't compare animal agriculture to a Holocaust. You have literally not made one single argument. The only thing you've done is, I can't believe she said that. That's not an argument.
Stop referencing other bad treatments. Stop.
This is ridiculous. Okay, so the term Holocaust has been used to refer to many different genocides. One of the first uses of the words Holocaust was to actually describe a tragic incident where like a building burnt down and like I think a few dozen people were killed. It was like in the 18th century. There was the Native American Holocaust, where, you know, Europeans ended up genociding Native Americans. That was referred to as a Holocaust. There was the Armenian Holocaust. There were, I think, at least another two large genocides that were referred to as a Holocaust. So it's not like Holocaust is a term that can only be used to describe the Jewish Holocaust. No, it's a general term that's used to describe like these large-scale genocides. I don't know why you can't use the term Holocaust to describe animal agriculture. And again, the term Holocaust is a Greek word that literally translates into burnt animal sacrifice. So it's weird how human beings can appropriate words that were used to describe animal suffering and death, but then when we try to appropriate those words back, oh, it's wrong. This just doesn't make any sense. Please explain to me why Holocaust can only be used to describe a specific human tragedy. Let's say in a hypothetical reality where only Black people were ever victims of slavery. If another group of people or another species, let's say, was treated in the exact same fashion, would it be wrong to call that slavery? This doesn't make sense. She's not making an argument.
It ruins your message.
But at this point...
Why does it ruin your message? I think it strengthens it because it makes it more understandable to relate, you know, what they're going through. A lot of people don't give animals the type of personhood where they even recognize them as being murdered. So why would advocating for animal rights, like to the point where you're giving them the personhood which would allow them to be recognized as suffering through a Holocaust, like how would that weaken your animal rights message when you're trying to encourage people to recognize they're going through the exact same suffering and pain?
Anybody who laughs at an animal rights activist, anybody who's vegan phobic to that degree after having had many, many months to change is despicable.
Wow, that sounds really hypocritical. She definitely laughed at me and the responses that she made to me. I'm an animal activist. I'm vegan.
You're not an animal rights activist and you're not vegan. We've clearly proven that in the stream.
She didn't even take the time to educate herself on our industry before coming at me and saying that I'm not really a vegan.
Jesus, you're one to talk.
I'm not really a vegan because I disagree.
You're not. No, you're not vegan because you're telling meat eaters that not eating meat and you know, going on a vegan diet, it makes no difference. It doesn't make you kill animals indirectly when you eat plants, so it's not like you're any better than a meat eater if you go vegan. You're literally telling meat eaters that there's no point in going vegan because it doesn't make a difference in terms of amount of suffering and death you cause. You are literally arguing that we shouldn't call animal agriculture a Holocaust when that's exactly what it is. You're discouraging vegan activism by claiming vegan activism is just wrong because you're forcing your beliefs on others. And you won't even define forcing your beliefs, but I can only imagine what you mean by that is you shouldn't encourage people to follow your moral beliefs. That's it. So, like, that's the only criticism you could possibly have against that vegan teacher, because she's not literally forcing anyone to go vegan. She's not forcing her beliefs on anyone. So that you're literally against vegan activism. You're against the idea of recognizing animal agriculture as a Holocaust, and you even encourage meat eaters to not go vegan because it would make no difference anyway. How are you vegan?
Agree with a vegan who's uneducated. Okay, I'm talking in circles, you guys. I don't even think I should finish this
You're uneducated. You don't know anything. You don't know jack shit about any of the topics you're talking about, and you can't even make one single argument.
video. Don't go watch it. I mean, it's pointless. It's meaningless. She's full of shit. I just don't like. I'm done. I'm not watching this anymore because I'm talking in circles. If you were turned away from veganism because of that vegan teacher, I am so sorry. Everyone should be welcomed into the
Carnus cuckoldry
community. Everyone should be welcomed as a vegan if that's the choice you choose to make. And
what do you mean everyone should be welcomed into our community? What does that mean exactly? People should feel bad about supporting a Holocaust. If you're not going to make somebody feel bad about supporting a Holocaust, why the hell should they go vegan?
I want people to know.
Please tell me, why did you go vegan if you didn't feel bad for the suffering you're contributing to? There's no way to advocate for animal rights, to advocate for veganism, without making people feel bad about their choices. It's just an oxymoron to claim we shouldn't make people feel bad about their choices, yet encourage them to go vegan. That's an impossibility.
That this is not just about being vegan. The message as a whole is humanitarianism, environment.
No. Veganism has nothing to do with human beings. It has everything to do with animals. Please show me where in the fucking definition of veganism, like we can rely on the Vegan Society's definition, where does it say that veganism involves human rights? Nowhere does it say that.
Environmentalism, animal rights activism. You need.
Oh, okay. She's an intersectionalist. This makes perfect sense now. She's an intersectionalist.
To study up on all of these reasons. Maybe one might strike a chord with you and you find a reason why you want to eat vegan, and not only want to eat vegan, but volunteer your time at places. And
eating vegan doesn't make you vegan if you don't live a vegan lifestyle for the purpose of reducing animal suffering and death. Then I don't think you can really call yourself vegan. If you're just eating a vegan diet because, oh, it's the healthiest diet, you're not actually vegan. It's an ethical belief, and you do it for the purpose of reducing animal suffering and death.
Go and do certain things that will improve the lives of animals or other humans. This is not just about bettering the lives of animals, which...
No, it is. It is entirely about that. Okay, so you're telling me if veganism actually caused...
Twerk the booty.
Okay, I'll do that, dude. If you're telling me veganism was actually a little worse for the environment, a little worse for our health, and, I don't know, negatively impacted human beings as a whole in some sort of way, it would be wrong to be vegan. We should contribute to unnecessary, excessive suffering and death just because it benefits us? Is that what you're saying? Is that what veganism means to you? Oh, if it just benefits me, then I'm vegan, but if it doesn't benefit me, then no, I'm not going to be vegan. She doesn't know what veganism is. This is a joke.
Which is where she goes wrong. This is about being a more ethical human as a whole. And
I don't even know what the hell she means by that. I don't know how that vegan teacher isn't being an ethical human being as a whole. She supports human rights issues. She supports Black Lives Matter. She supports the LGBTQ community. She's part of the LGBTQ community. She's involved with some human-based activism. She made a lot of posts about how what happened to George Floyd is terrible. I don't know why she's talking about that vegan teacher in this context when she does get involved in other social justice movements.
I want people to know that if you even cut meat out of your diet for one meal a day, you are still making a big impact.
No, you're not. Oh, okay. So if I murder a human being every single day and then I choose one day out of the week, I don't murder one human being, I'm making a big impact? No. Look, I'm not going to pat somebody on the back for murdering less. I'm not going to pat somebody on the back for raping less. I'm going to pat them on the back if they stop raping and murdering. That's the only time I'm going to give them any thumbs up.
Actually have been blocked on Twitter by multiple vegans because I get so frustrated when they say things like being vegetarian isn't good enough, meat-free Monday isn't good enough.
Yeah, it's not good enough.
Understand what you're saying, but you aren't thinking of the big picture. You aren't thinking about...
You're not thinking of the big picture. We want meat and animal products to be abolished. You're not supporting abolishment of meat and animal products. You're telling meat eaters, yeah, it's okay if you eat it sometimes. Yeah, it's okay to murder sometimes. Look, okay, let me ask you this. If we were living in a society where slavery was still a thing, let's say we were living in a society where we killed and ate other human beings. Let's say we, harvested Jews the same way we were harvesting animals. Would you be in support of Jewless Monday, where we don't kill and eat Jews on Monday? Would you support a thing like that, where you're saying, oh, you know what, eat Jews every other day, but on Mondays, don't eat Jews? Would you support an idea like that? Makes things sound a little bit fucking different, doesn't it? So no, I think it's totally disrespectful to these victims to advocate for this bullshit. Meatless Mondays, just, don't murder, don't commit a Holocaust on Mondays. It's completely disrespectful to the victims, and I think it misses the big picture that we want to abolish this. If we're going to preach abolishment, we shouldn't be saying, oh yeah, just, don't kill on a Monday.
Cause and effect. You aren't thinking about small steps. It's like...
Yeah, racismless Mondays. Don't say the N-word on Monday, but every other day spit at black people when they walk by.
Veganuary, right? So many people go vegan just for a month, and that in itself makes a big...
You can't go vegan for just a month. This person doesn't even know what veganism is.
Big difference.
In order to actually
vegan.
commit to something, like weight loss, quitting a habit, you have to actually want to do that. You have to find your own personal reasons and beliefs as to why you want to change.
Well, and apparently we're not allowed to give people a reason because we're not allowed to show them animal abuse. We're not allowed to give them actual arguments for why they shouldn't support the meat industry because, according to her, free speech and trying to advocate for your own ethical positions is wrong. That's forcing your beliefs on someone else. So why should any... And by the way, she's the one who claimed in this video that going vegan doesn't make a difference. If you were to go vegan, you're still killing animals, so it's not like you're better than anyone who eats meat. So what reason would anyone have to eat meat? If we're not allowed to show them what happens in the animal agriculture industry, we're not allowed to argue for our ethical position, and on top of that, apparently we're supposed to tell meat eaters that going vegan doesn't even make a difference to begin with. So why? Why should anyone go vegan according to you?
Or else that's never gonna stick. You will never convert people by guilt tripping them or by...
Really? I converted to veganism because I felt guilty. I'm sure most of the people in the chat, no, literally type in the chat right now, tell me if you converted to veganism because you felt guilty about supporting animal abuse. Please type that in the chat right now. This is so ridiculous. The only reason anyone would go vegan is because they feel guilty about harming animals. Again, veganism is a moral belief that seeks to eliminate as much as possible and practical any suffering, exploitation, and death towards animals for clothing or food or any other purpose. So if that's the case, how else could you go vegan if you did not feel guilty for causing harm? Please tell me how this is just an oxymoron. There's no way you can be convinced, to follow an ethical philosophy and lifestyle if you did not feel some level of guilt. This is just ridiculous. Yeah, everyone, literally everyone.
Telling them that they're a terrible person. You will make people retaliate that way, which hurts the movement, which hurts the animals, which hurts the environment.
People can retaliate for any reason. Dude, there are fitness and health-focused vegan channels and plant-based doctors who advocate health all the time. Look at the carnist community. Look at the carnivore community. They push back. That's a literal response to these vegan health claims. Any claim that you make in support of veganism, there will be pushback. There are people who advocate for veganism for health reasons, they get pushback. There are people who advocate for environmental reasons, they get pushback. Why is it that ethics is the only way, what reasoning, what made you come to this conclusion? Why is it that if you advocate for veganism for ethical reasons, that's the only thing that will receive pushback? How is that unique to any other reason why somebody might choose a vegan lifestyle? This makes no sense. You'd get pushback for anything.
Which is what you have done. And I think it's hilarious that she hates on vegetarians.
Okay. So if you argue for ethics, apparently if you try to shame people, the literal worst horse trainer on TikTok. Let's watch this video.
Is given animals that he doesn't even know how to train. And then when people call him out for that not being a real training method to fix that issue, which he probably caused in the first place, he's like, oh, you're just a snowflake. No, bitch, you just can't fucking train horses.
Oh, weird. Sounds like you're pushing your beliefs on other people. Sounds like you're making an ethical argument. Oh, like she's literally admitting that when people point out that this kid is doing something wrong, he pushes back. So I guess by your own standard, when you make videos like this where you explain why people are bad horse trainers, you're actually encouraging them to keep being bad horse trainers because you're giving them an ethical reason for why they shouldn't do it, and then they're pushing back. You literally admit that, oh, this kid is like pushing back on everything you're saying. So I guess you're guilty of the exact same thing, huh? Wow, the hypocrisy is just amazing.
So much too. It's like these people are actually trying to make a change. And for some people, it might be really hard to cut out bacon or to cut out cheese.
It's not hard. They're just selfish, whiny pieces of shit. It is not hard to not eat bacon or not eat cheese. If you're claiming that it's difficult for you to not eat bacon or not eat cheese, you are a selfish, whiny, loser piece of shit, and you have had the easiest fucking life imaginable. You want to learn like what difficulty is? Jesus Christ, if that's the most difficult thing for you to do, to give up eating bacon or cheese, you're a selfish, whiny, privileged piece of.
And you shouldn't shame them for that because that's.
No, you should, because they're selfish, whiny, privileged pieces of who think they're so fucking amazing. What?
The swearing.
Okay, that they think they're so amazing, they're so important that they can cause the suffering and death of animals just to satisfy their taste pleasure. They absolutely should be ashamed of what they're doing. Look, if I was killing human beings because I like their taste, should I not be shamed for that? Like, this would literally justify raping children. Guess what? There are pedophiles who literally cannot help themselves, who have such strong urges that they cannot stop themselves from raping children. Should they not feel ashamed about what they're doing? Like, really? Should we just let child rapists out free because we shouldn't push our beliefs on them? We shouldn't shame them into being moral people? I can't believe that she's saying this. Oh, I'd love to get you in a live debate.
Something that our society has grown up to normalize as part of our diet. And if someone's having a really hard time cutting that out, then you should still be encouraging of them eating very healthy plant-based products, and then maybe they still have bacon on the side or cheese because it's very hard for them to get rid of it.
Let's see, vegan bacon. There's tons of vegan bacon recipes. There's tons of vegan bacon products. I think the best one is King Vegetarian Bacon. It's probably the best one. This actually tastes like bacon. So apparently it's impossible to eat vegan alternatives. It's impossible to eat vegan cheese. At this point, there's literally a billion different vegan cheese products. So yeah, we should be telling them, oh yeah, if it's really hard for you to stop, raping and torturing and murdering animals, just do it sometimes, right? Okay, so if we found a child sexual predator who's having trouble not raping children, would you tell him the same thing? Would you tell him, okay, you know what, like, try to jerk off to porn or something for, most of the week, but like maybe one day a week, just rape a kid? Like, is that what we should do? Should we have racismless Mondays? where we're only racist for, you know, like, we're only not racist for 1 day a week. Like, should we be promoting this shit? It is ridiculous.
They're still making a huge impact by cutting all the other meat and dairy out.
What do you mean making a huge impact? Okay, this is so stupid. This is so stupid. If somebody was murdering another human being, every single day, and then let's say they only chose to murder one human being a week, they cut down on their murder, would you say, wow, you're making a huge impact on the amount of murder you're causing? No. The goal is to not murder. You're not making a huge impact if you're murdering. What sense does this make?
Out of their diet. I am just so sorry that someone like her was the face of such a positive movement. People who really do a lot of humanitarian efforts and animal welfare efforts and environmental.
Okay, so veganism isn't about environmentalism, it's not about animal welfare, it's about animal abolishment, and it's not about humanitarianism. This woman is a crazy intersectionalist, and unsurprisingly, she's racist. Intersectionalists tend to be the most racist people I've ever come across.
Efforts, like, I mean, she completely shit on our movement for the entire, like, year and a half that
Please explain why she's not come up with a single argument.
She was popular on TikTok. God, what an embarrassment she is.
You're an embarrassment. Stop calling yourself vegan. Stop associating yourself with our movement.
I'm so glad that her TikTok was taken down. And if you...
Yeah, let's try to take down her YouTube channel. Everybody go through her videos and report every time she says bitch.
You are vegan and you did support that vegan teacher, stay vegan, but go do your own research and realize that her approach was so wrong on...
So now she's even acknowledging that she did turn a lot of people vegan, but now apparently we have to do research and realize that her approach was... Okay, well, clearly it worked. Like, what are you talking about? Clearly it worked for those people. Like, even if we're going to be, like, really... I don't know, really uncharitable and say, okay, most of the people who go through and watch her TikTok, they don't like her and they're going to be discouraged from going vegan. Okay, well, clearly she does speak to a certain type of people, and that type of activism is ideal for that particular segment of people. So like, can't we just agree that certain forms of activism are going to speak more to certain people, and maybe her type of activism speaks more to certain type of people? Your type of unactivism, literally anti-activism, speaks to a certain group of people. My type of activism speaks to a different type of people. Like, why can't we, like, she was literally singing songs on a fucking ukulele. She was not doing anything that controversial. Can't we just agree that, like, maybe, like, even if you don't like what certain people are saying, maybe it just works for certain people and we should just learn to fucking accept that?
So many levels. And it did not help vegans at all. It hurt vegans. Just do your own research.
Where's your evidence? Where's your evidence? Yeah, so this was absolute garbage. This woman is not vegan. She's anti-vegan. She discourages activism. She encourages meat eaters to keep eating meat because she's literally said in this video that going vegan doesn't even make a difference. She's not vegan.